Hello there, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Samantha, and this is my channel where I talk all about books. Anyway, hello. It has been a while since I last posted a video. Almost a month. Vlogmas, it failed. What can I say? I knew it was going to. I said in a very early video, this isn't gonna happen. And it didn't, so I was right. I know exactly when I failed. So there was one day where I was like, oh, I should film today, but actually I have time tomorrow. So I just won't film today. I'll film tomorrow instead. And that is what ruined everything, because then that day I didn't film. So then I didn't have anything for the next 4 days when I was working 4 days in a row. Because then when it got to my first day off, I then was doing something that day and the next day as well. So then I was 6 days behind, and it just got out of hand. Sorry about that. It's been a while. But anyway, today I'm coming to you with my December wrap up. I'm gonna quickly chat about the 4 books that I read in December. It wasn't a lot because I had the issue of Vlogmas, so that really slowed my reading down in the beginning of the month. And then just, you know, December is a busy time if you celebrate Christmas. There was lots of socializing, and yeah, it was a busy old time. And I really didn't read that much. In the last couple days of the year, I thought I was going to read a lot because I got the Rona. So yeah, I really thought that I'd read a lot during that time. I did read 1 book in 24 hours, which is the fastest I've read a book in a long time. But apart from that, that was it. So yeah, and I still currently have the Rona. What can you do? It's a thing, it happens. Anyway, so I only read 4 books in December. I enjoyed all of them, so this should be a positive wrap up. I'm gonna go in order of like least favorite to favorite, because that's how I want to start doing my wrap-ups. So yeah, I'm gonna do it that way. So the first book I'm gonna talk about is A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. I got this book from the library because I have been meaning to read it for like the last 3 Christmases. I keep on thinking I should read A Christmas Carol to get festive, you know? And I ended up having to read this the day it was due back at the library because I just completely forgot about it. So I read it I think 4 days before Christmas, something like that. And I actually ended up listening to the audiobook because I was reading it physically, but I really needed to get back to the library. So instead of just returning it and listening to the audiobook in my own time, I sat down and I listened to the audiobook all in one go. It's a pretty short book. It's only 100 pages, so the audiobook was pretty short as well. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was, you know, festive, and I knew the story already, but it was nothing particularly groundbreaking. I think I probably would have enjoyed it more if I had sat down and physically read it, because I think I was enjoying it more when I was physically reading it. So I originally gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars, but I literally I don't really feel anything towards it either way, so I lowered it to 3 stars. The next book I'm going to talk about is The Hawthorne Legacy by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the sequel to The Inheritance Games, which was actually one of my favorite books of last year, and I reread it in November so that I could read the sequel. And actually, I don't think you need to do that. If you are struggling to remember the ending of the first book, it does actually recap a little bit in this book, so it's not necessary to reread it if you were worried about that like I was. Anyway, if you don't know what The Inheritance Games is about, it basically follows our main character Avery, who does not come from a family with a lot of money. In fact, actually, she doesn't really have much of a family. She only really has her sister. And one day she is called into the principal's office at school, and she is told that she has inherited the fortune of a billionaire who has died and left all of his money to her. But the only catch is that she has to go and live in his house with his family who's still alive, and obviously they think that they should have the inheritance. So it's actually a pretty dangerous situation for her, and she has to live in this house for a year in order to inherit all of this money. This book obviously follows on from the events of the first one. I'm not going to talk about this one in particular, what happens. I will say I ended up giving this one a 4 out of 5 stars. I did really enjoy it, but I don't know, I really feel like this year I've had a huge shift in my reading, and I'm just not enjoying young adult anymore. I do to a point, but I just find that, I don't know, it's just, I've really been struggling to really enjoy young adult. So yeah, I had the same feeling when I reread the first book. I was like, you know, I'm enjoying this a lot, but I think some of this drama is just I don't know, kind of annoying. That's just how I feel now. It's a shame. I will say that with this book, I think it tied everything up really nicely, so I'm kind of confused where she's gonna go with the 3rd book. I'm tempted to read it, but at the same time I'm I don't really think I have to, but I think I will probably read it just because I did love the first book so much when I first read it. But yeah, I don't know, it's just a shame because I don't love it as much as I used to. But this series I would say is really good. If you liked the movie Knives Out, it has very similar vibes. Anyway, that was this book. I gave it 4 stars. The next book I'm going to talk about, I gave a 4.5 out of 5 stars, and that is Cultish by Amanda Montell. So I think I have a new appreciation for nonfiction. I just need to make sure that I'm choosing the right niches for my interests. I really loved this book, and before I continue, I just have to say Noelle from Noelle 7 Pages gives out amazing recommendations because I found this book because of her, and I also found like my favorite book of the year because of her. So from now on, I think I just need to trust Noelle for like all of my book recommendations. But this is a book about the language of fanaticism. It's basically a book all about the language of cults and sort of like leadership and how a lot of things in our day-to-day life are kind of like cultish, like Instagram and like influencers and even like workout classes and things like that. It was just super interesting. It was just incredibly fascinating to me as someone who studied linguistics at university. That was my minor, and obviously my major was Spanish. So I'm a very language type of person. I find it really fascinating. And yeah, I've always found like influential language like an interesting thing to study. Not because I want to employ the tactics, obviously, but I just find it interesting. And whilst I was reading this, it made me think about how, in a way, because BookTube has like specific language that you don't understand if you're like not part of the group, in a way, BookTube, or like I guess the bookish internet, could be considered to be a little bit culty. I don't know. Think about that. This was really interesting. I do think that I kind of lost interest towards the end, but I don't think it was the book's fault. It was because I had Rona brain, and also because I had been reading it for a long time, because I started out reading like one section a day, and then I only did that for like 3 or 4 days, and then I put it down for about 2 weeks. Yeah, definitely not the book's fault that I kind of lost interest in the end. It was purely because of me. Yeah, I did really, really enjoy this. I would highly recommend, if you're interested at all in language and cults, I would recommend this. And the last book I'm going to talk about is a 5-star read, and also it was my last book of the year, and that was The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I hate to add to the hype, but this was so freaking cute. Oh my god. This book was just so fun, and it was the perfect time for me to be reading this because at the time, none of my family had tested positive, so I was quarantining in my room by myself, and I just sat there and I read this book and I devoured it. Like I said, this is one that I read in like less than 24 hours. I read it in about 2 sittings, and I just ate it up. I loved the academic setting. I have to say, the one thing I didn't like, thinking back to it, I'm like, is it a 5-star? But I don't know, just because I think that Adam, the love interest, is not like that amazing. I really loved Olive, who's the main character, but I think Adam was just kind of like, I don't know. I just don't know. If you don't know what this book's about somehow, because it has been everywhere, it basically follows our main character, Olive, who really wants her best friend to date her ex-boyfriend, or not even really ex-boyfriend, but just like this guy that she was seeing for a little while. She really wants them to be together because she knows that they both really like each other, but her best friend is like, no, I won't do that to you. He's your ex, like I'm not gonna do that. So in an effort to get them together, Olive decides that she has to pretend to be in a new relationship. So she tells her friend that she's out on a date, and then her friend runs into her when she's very clearly not on a date because she's in the lab. So to hide the fact that she wasn't on a date, she decides to kiss the first guy she sees, who happens to be this very grumpy professor who's like known for giving out like really tough grades, and like everyone hates him pretty much, and she kisses him. And then they decide that it would actually be mutually beneficial to fake date, so they end up fake dating. It goes from there. As I said, I really loved it. I think that Olive was a fantastic main character. I really, really enjoyed her. I even like tabbed a few things, only a few things, but like I never tab in books, so that says something. I really enjoyed this. It was so fun. Like, is it groundbreaking literature? No. But was it fun? Absolutely. I think actually reading romance right now is probably like a good time for me to read romance, because I've been dating my boyfriend for like 3 months, so I'm still kind of in like the beginning of our relationship. So I think reading romance is a good idea right now, because it's all about people falling in love. So yeah, I think I'm probably more likely to enjoy it at the moment, whereas before I was maybe a bit more like skeptical and like, this is lame. But now I'm like, nah, this is so fun, and such a fun time when you experience that in real life. Anyway, but yeah, I loved this. Anyway, so those were the 4 books that I read in December. Like I said, not a big stack, but I was doing Vlogmas briefly, and I was very, very busy, and now I'm sick. So yeah, I don't know why I'm defending myself. 4 books is fine. No books is fine. You do you. But that's all I have for this video. So I hope you liked it. If you did, please hit thumbs up. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe down below. If you read any of the books I talked about, let me know your thoughts down below. And if you made it to the end, could you leave me like the alien emoji down below? I think there's an alien emoji, but because of the spaceship on Cultish, could you leave me either a spaceship or an alien down below so I know you made it to the end? That's all I have. So I'll see you very soon with another video. Bye.